We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Amid Beis in Meseches Menachos. This is Menachos Daf 30b. This daf is sponsored by David and Ariella Grossman. Thank you for your sponsorship. If you would like to sponsor an Amid or a daf, see the description box below, and see the description box below to see how you can support this channel. On the previous Amid, the Brisa said that if a word that is 5 letters is at the end, is supposed to be written at the end of a line of a column, but it doesn't all fit at the end of that line, so don't write 2 of the letters within the column and then 3 of the letters outside of the column. Ella rather, shalosh besoch hadaf, have 3 of the letters within the column, ushtayim chutz ladaf, and then you can have 2 of the letters outside of the column. And the Brisa continues, Nizdamna lo teva bas shtei osios. Let's say he now has a word of 2 letters that's supposed to go at the beginning of the next line, but we just said that you can in theory have 2 letters outside of the column, but in this case, lo yizrakenu levein hadaf, and he should not put these 2 letters between the columns outside of the column. Ela choser v'chosev, rather he goes in and he writes it betchilas hashita, at the beginning of the next line. And Rashi explains, Lo yizrakenu levein hadaf and v'lo yichtevena chutz l'sirtot hagilyon shel daf. He shouldn't write this 2-letter word outside of the column. Afal pi sheitarnu lichtov beis osios chutz l'daf miteva bas chomish. Now, even though we said it is permitted to write 2 of the 5 letters of a 5-letter word outside, teva shleima lo hitarnu, but we would not allow that by a full word. And the Brisa continues, Hatoa b'shem, if one makes a mistake with the shem, with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a Sefer Torah, so gorer es masha kosav, he can scrape and erase that which he already wrote. Gorer is when one erases ink that is dry. V'toles masha gorer, and then whatever he erases, whatever he scraped off, that he can suspend above the line. He can write that over a little bit outside of the line, above the line. V'chosev es Hashem al mokom hagrar, and then he writes the name of Hashem on the area that he erased. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi says, Af tolen es Hashem, he can even suspend the name of Hashem, write that a little above the line. Rabbi Yitzchak says, Af mochek v'kosev, he can even be mochek, which is erasing ink that is wet, that's called blotting, so if the ink is wet, he can erase that, wipe it away, and then again, write the Shem Hashem. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri says, Kol Hashem kulo tolen, the entire Shem Hashem, one can suspend above the line, miksaso ein tolen, but a little bit of it, some of it, one is not allowed to suspend above the line. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Omer Mishum Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says in the name of Rabbi Meir, Ein kosven as Hashem, one cannot write the name of Hashem, lo al mokam hagrar, not in the area that was erased, the drying that it was erased, velo al mokam hamochak, and not on the area that was blotted out, ve'ein tolen also, and one is not allowed to suspend it. Ketzad osa, so what does he do in such a situation? Misalik es hayiriya kula, he has to remove that entire sheet of parchment, v'gonz, and hide it away, and he has to redo that sheet of parchment. And Rashi explains, Tola magia ben hashit, and again, Tola to suspend means that he writes it between the lines. Mochek, he blots it out. Be'ot shaksiv alacha, that's talking about erasing when the writing is still moist. V'chosev Hashem ala mochek, and he writes the name of Hashem on that area that was blotted out. Afal pisheino hadr kol kach gegorer, even though that's not as nice as a situation of gorer, when it's scraped off, when it's dry ink, that's actually preferred. And Rashi continues, again, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar said in the name of Rabbi Meir, Ketzad hu osa, what does he do if he's not allowed to do all of these various solutions? Imtab b'shem, again, if he makes a mistake with the shame of Hashem. And again, Rabbi Meir said, Misalik es hayiriyah kula, he has to remove that entire sheet, v'gonza, and hide it away. And the Gemara continues, Itmar, it was stated, the following, Machlokas Amoraim, Rav Chananel Omar Rav, Rav Chananel says that Rav says, Halacha, that the halacha is Tolen es Hashem, one can suspend the name of Hashem. Rav Bar Chana Omar Rav Yitzchak Bar Shmuel, Rav Bar Chana says that Rav Yitzchak Bar Shmuel says, Halacha mochek v'kosev, the halacha is he can blot out and write it. And the Gemara continues and asks, V'leima mar halacha kamar, umar halacha kamar, why doesn't one Amora just say the halacha is like the following Tana in the Brisa above, and the other Amora should say the halacha is like the other Tana in the Brisa above? Why do they have to repeat the actual halachas, just say who they're paskening like? And the Gemara answers, Misham da'afchi lahu, because there are those who reverse the opinions in the Brisa, therefore we can't be sure who says what, and therefore the Amoraim just stated what the halacha actually is. And the Gemara continues, Amar Ravin Bar Chinana, Amar Ula, Amar Rabbi Chanina. Ravin Bar Chinana says that Ula says that Rabbi Chanina says, Halacha ka Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. Again, Rabbi Shimon Shazuri said, Kol Hashem Kulo Tolen. The entire name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu can be suspended, but Miksaso ain't Tolen, but part of it cannot be suspended. And so the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. V'lo, and not only that, Ela Kol Mokom Shoshana. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri, anytime that Rabbi Shimon Shazuri's opinion is taught, Halacha Kamoso, the halacha is like like him. And now that the statement was made that any time Rabbi Shimon Shazuri taught a halacha, the halacha is like him, it's not 100% clear what Ravin Bar Chinina Amar Ula Amar B'Chanina, what was he saying when he said halacha Rabbi Shimon Shazuri, which particular halacha of Rabbi Shimon Shazuri was he referring to? As the Gemara continues and asks, Ahaya, what was Ravin Bar Chinina going on again when he said halacha Rabbi Shimon Shazuri? Ilema Aha, if you're going to say it's on this, what we just said above, Rabbi Shimon Shazuri Omer Kol Hashem Kulo Tolen Miksaso Ein Tolen, that Rabbi Shimon Shazuri says the entire name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu can be suspended above the line, but not part of the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'oi Itmar Allah, but it was stated on this statement of Rabbi Shimon Shazuri on the Brisa above, we quoted above, Amar Rav Chananel Amar Rav Halacha Tolen Es Hashem, that Rav Chananel says that Rav says the halacha is one can suspend the name of Hashem. V'Rava Bar Bar Chana Amar Rav Yitzchak Bar Shmuel, and Rava Bar Bar Chana said that Rav Yitzchak Bar Shmuel said halacha mochek v'kosev, that the halacha is one can blot out and write it. V'yamisa, now if it is true that this statement of Rav and Bar Chinna was going on that same brisa, so hunami lema, so he also should say what he holds the halacha is. He should have been brought in that context, but Rav and Bar Chinna was not brought in that context, so actually he must not have been going on that particular statement of Rav Shimon Shazuri. And so the Gemara continues and says, Ela aha, rather, Rav and Bar Chinna's statement was going on the following statement of Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri Omer, Rabbi Shimon Shazuri says, Afilu ben chamesh shanim, even if the animal is 5 years old, v'choresh besad, that it's plowing in the field, shchitas imo metahara, so the slaughter of its mother is able to purify it, is able to make it kosher. And Rashi explains, Ben Chamesh Shanim, if the animal is 5 years old, this is going on a Mishnah in Meseches Chulin, a Ben Pekua Koi, it's going on the case of Ben Pekua, that's when the mother animal is slaughtered and it turns out that there's a fetus, there's a baby inside of the mother. So Rabbi Shimon Shazuri says, even if that baby is viable, even if it's able to reach 5 years old, etc., it is considered kosher through the slaughter, through the shchita of the mother. But the Gemara continues and says, we can't possibly say that the statement of Rav and Bar Chinna is going on this Mishnah, because Ha'itmar Allah, because it was stated on this Mishnah. Zeiri Amar Reb Chanina, Zeiri says that Reb Chanina says, halacha Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. V'yamisa, now if it's true that Rav and Bar Chinna was making his statement on this Mishnah as well, Hunami Lema, so he also should be stated along with this. He also should be brought down as saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. And so the Gemara continues, Ela Aha, rather the statement of Rav and Bar Chinna from Rabbi Chanina is really going on the following Mishnah. This is a Mishnah in Meseches Gittin. Barishona Hayuomrim, in the beginning they said, Hayotze Bekoler, one who's being brought out in chains. V'yomer, and he says, Kisvu get Ishti, write a get for my wife. The point is he said write it, but he didn't say give it. But we can assume that he really means to give it. Hareelu Yichtavu V'yitnu, they should write it and they should give it. Chazru Lomar, then they said, Af HaMefarish V'hayotze B'shayara, even one who's going out, one who's traveling by caravan, one who's going on a long journey. Also we say that. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri Omer, Rabbi Shimon Shazuri says, Af HaMesuk, and even one who's in danger of his life. Again, if he says Kisvu Ged Ishti, the halach is Harei Elu Yichtavu V'yitnu. And the Gemara continues, Inami Aha, or we could say that the statement of Rav and Bar Chinna is going on the following, and this is from the Mishnah in Demai, Trumas Meiser Shel Demai, if there's Trumas Meiser of Demai, Shechazr L'Mekoma, that it goes back to its place, it falls into the mixture, we can't identify the Trumas Meiser. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri Omer, Rabbi Shimon Shazuri says, Af B'chol, even on a weekday, Shoalo, one can ask the Am Ha'aretz whether the Meiser was taken off properly, V'yochlu Al Piv, and he can eat it based on his word, he can trust the Am Ha'aretz, and so maybe the statement of Rav and Bar Chinna from Rabbi Chanina is going on these statements, on one of these statements of Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. But the Gemara continues and says, Vo Itmar Allah, but on this it was also stated, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, the Rabbi Yochanan said, Halachik Rabbi Shimon Shazuri b'Mesukan uv'Trumas Meiser Shel Demai, that the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon Shazuri by Mesukan. Again, that's the case with the get above, and by Trumas Meiser Shel Demai, the case from the Mishnah of Demai above. V'Yamisa, and again, if it's true that Rav and Bar Chinna's statement was on one of these, Hunami Lema, he also should be stated together with Rabbi Yochanan. And Rashi explains, Bekoler, he is being taken out in a collar and chains, leharik, to be killed. So Yichtavu V'yinu, they write and they give the get. Afagav Dehulo Amar Tenu, even though he didn't say give it. The Mistama Goli Daite, Mistama, that's what he means. Mida Amar Kisvu, L'Shem Nesina Kamar. Since he said write it, he means to give it. Mishum Diyotze leharik, because he's being taken out to be killed. The Lo Nichalei, the Tipol Kame Yavam, he wants to be able to divorce his wife in this situation, so she shouldn't fall to the brother-in-law in Yibum. Hamefarish Bayam, one who is traveling by sea. And then we have the case of Trumas Meiser. The case of Trumas Meiser, Echad Mimeya, Trumas Meiser ends up being 1 out of 100 of the produce. Kedem Mefarish Beperek Egla Arufa, that's explained in Egla Arufa. And Rashi continues, Hachi Garcina, and this is the proper text. Trumas Meiser Shel Demai Shechazr L'Mekoma, Trumas Meiser of Demai that returned to its place. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri Omer, Af B'chol Shalo V'yochlo Apiv. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri says, Even on a weekday, he can ask the Amoritz and rely on the Amoritz. The beginning of this Mishnah is as follows in Meseches Demai. One purchases produce from someone who's not believed, who's not trusted with regards to Maisros, from an Amoritz, and he forgets, he doesn't take off the proper Maiser like he is supposed to by Demai. So Shoalo b'Shabbos, he can ask the Amoritz on Shabbos if he took off properly. V'yochal al piv, he can eat based on his word, he can rely on the Amoritz. U'lematzoi Shabbos lo yochal, but in Matzah Shabbos, once Shabbos is over, he shouldn't eat ad sheyaser until he takes off Meiser. Trumas Meiser shel Demai shechazra. Then the Mishnah goes on with this case, Trumas Meiser of Demai that returns to its place. V'hachi Perusha, and the explanation is as follows: B'Shabbos, when it comes to Shabbos, she'ein lo mayochel, he doesn't have what to eat. Deino yochel litrom b'Shabbos. There's no other solution. You can't take off Meiser, you can't take off Truma on Shabbos. Ve'kilu chachamim etzlo misham oneg Shabbos. So there we have a leniency. The chacham are lenient because of oneg Shabbos to celebrate Shabbos properly. Ho'elu Demai derabanan, since the entire issue of Demai is only derabanan. V'rov amei aretz ma'asron hein, and most amei aretz do take off Meiser. So shoalo li amoritz im isron, he can ask the Amoritz if he took off Meiser, v'ochlan al piv, and then he can eat, he can rely on the Amoritz. Trumas Meiser shel Demai shechazru l'mekom, and if there's Trumas Meiser of Demai, so in situation of Demai, the person who has the Demai takes off just in case, and he takes off Meiser Rishon, and then on that Meiser Rishon, he takes off Trumas Meiser. So he took off that Trumas Meiser. That Trumas Meiser might not actually be Trumas Meiser, because all of this is just being done just in case it wasn't already separated, but he took off this Trumas Meiser of Demai, and then shechazru l'mekom, it fell back into the pile of produce. The achshav ein la takana, now there really is no solution. The kevan denikra aleh shem truma medamas, once he called it truma, now it creates a situation of a mixture. V'oseres asachulin, and it's going to forbid all of the chulin, all of the rest of the produce is now going to be forbidden because of this trumas meiser that fell in. Bazu amar Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. So in this case, Rabbi Shimon Shazuri says the af bechol, that even on a weekday, somech ala mocher, one can rely on the seller mishum hefsid chulin, because we don't want to lose all of the chulin. V'shoalo, he can ask him hifresh meiser kodem shemachrulo, if he separated the meiser before he sold it to him. V'yochel al piv, and he can rely on him, he can eat it based on his word. The nimtzes shalochol al zeh shem trumas meiser, because it will come out if we're relying on the amoretz, then this second trumas meiser that was taken off on the demai is not really trumas meiser, the kvar nifter, because it was already exempt from having meiser taken off. And so again, that's the leniency of Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. And so the Gemara continues, Ela aha, rather the statement of Rav and Bar Chinna was made on the following statement of Rav Shimon Shazuri. Rabbi Yossi ben Kifar Omer Mishum Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. Rabbi Yossi ben Kifar says, in the name of Rabbi Shimon Shazuri, Pol HaMitzri, the Egyptian bean, Shazaro Lezera Miksaso Hishrish Lefnei Rosh Hashanah, Umiksaso Achar Rosh Hashanah, he planted it Lezera for the purpose of the seed, and Miksaso, part of it took root before Rosh Hashanah, and part of it took root after Rosh Hashanah. The case over here is specifically Pol HaMitzri Shazaro Lezera, because that depends on Hishrish, it depends on taking root. So again, part of it took root before Rosh Hashanah, part of it after Rosh Hashanah. The halach is you can't take off from one year to the other. Ein tarmin mizal zeh. One cannot separate the truma from this one on that one. Lefi she'ein tarmin u'ma'ashin, because we don't take off truma and meiser. Lo min hachadash al hayashan, not from the new crop on the old crop. V'lo min hayashan al hachadash, not from the old crop on the new crop. And so what does one do in such a situation? Ketzad yaseh, what should he do? Sover garnel, he should pile it all together and mix it all together. And then if he takes off truma and meiser, so we're going to assume that that which was taken from the new crop is going on the new crop, and that which is from the old crop is going on the old crop. And so that is a leniency of Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. And the Gemara continues, well, it can't be that Rav and Bar Chinna is making a statement on that, because again, Ho'itmar Allah was stated on that halach of Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmeni, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmeni says that Rabbi Yochanan says, halacha Rabbi Shimon Shazuri, the halach is like Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. And again, v'imisa, if it's true that the statement of Rav and Bar Chinna was made on this statement of Rabbi Shimon Shazuri, hu nami lema, so his statement should also be brought together with the statement of Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmeni. And so the Gemara continues, Ela Amar Papa Asheda, rather Papa says it's going on the case of Sheda, which the Gemara will bring. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar Ayayin, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says it's going on the case of Yayin, which the Gemara also will bring. Rav Papa Amar Rav Papa says, and Rashi explains, Pol HaMitzri min kitnius. Pol HaMitzri is a kind of a legume. And Rashi continues, Shazara lazera, again he planted it for its seed. Dimzara liyera, because if he planted it for its greens, have a azal meiser didei basar lakita, then it would be treated by a vegetable. The meiser would follow the time that it is harvested, that it is collected, not the time that it takes root. Kidim efarish b'Rosh Hashanah, like is explained in Rosh Hashanah. Aval mine kitnius basar hashrasha azli, but when it comes to mine kitnius, to kinds of legumes, so then we follow when it takes root. Tzover garno l'socho, so then he gathers the pile all together. Kolomar ma'orvan yafa v'yitrum. It just means to say that he mixes everything together well and takes off truma. V'nimsa chadash shebesocha truma mesaken es hachadash anishar, and it will come out that the new truma is going to fix the new part that remains. V'yoshan shebetruma mesaken es hayoshan shenishar, and the old truma that's going to fix, meaning last year's, is going to fix the old that remains. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph.